Hi, Ritu.
Hi, Aditi.
Oh, hi. I was on mute. Okay, we'll complete the dog. I was checking for what we decided on the animals yesterday. Had we were going to do reptiles, no? I still have to look.
Yeah.
I still have to look for images. Okay, Shivani.
Aditi, you'll put the link of that tape also, please.
Hmm. It's I don't know if I can put an online link, but I'll show you how the package
Huh.
looks. I
Okay. If you
think
just put a photo on the group,
ah,
that's good.
I'll do that. Yeah. Hi, Shivani.
Ah, I have to figure out. I'm using my phone today. Is it
Oh,
doing
okay. Okay.
yeah. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out how to switch on the camera. 1 second.
Okay. So this is your dog, Julie, you're saying. So,
Yeah, because her hair is so the thin, fluffy kind.
yeah.
So I never know how to do the hair actually.
Um, the dog that we're doing today also doesn't have any hair. So,
That's why it's easier. The one
but
with all so much fur she has.
you can easily do this, not easily. I mean, the other way to do this is using a white color pencil on top of the illustration or a pen.
Okay.
So some of the line you leave some section unpainted and then supplement that with extra lines so that it looks like uh it's fur that goes over the painted area. I wish I could show you at some point. I will. Okay, so we are at this point.
That's not the camera. Now it's awesome.
All right.
So I was doing, just to quickly show you, I was doing the deer like this.
Let's see. Oh, very nice. Yeah, this is looking very good.
See? I wasn't sure about the stroke, but I think I still
It's
hesitate.
looking very cute.
Thank you.
Very
I'm
cute.
doing it this morning. Since morning, I've been just doing
So cute.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think it's looking very nice. It's on the right track. Yeah. So I am focusing on with this, we are doing two things. We have done part of the shading in or part of the sculpting of the animal in pencil already. So now we just need to add a little bit of color to give it, I guess, more body. But I'm first going to finish off the eyes. So you can see how even a pencil sketch with a backdrop of watercolor will look very good in itself also. So that can be one series that can be made. And then we can also paint the animal and with just a few strokes first. So it looks very nice and watercolory. And then adding more depth to it. So the eyes I'm going to first make in pencil. And as usual, for like I showed you, the highlight must be placed down first. Here we have very little of the white of the eye visible. Here we have a little more. And I normally start shading from the center or somewhere around the center of the dark section, not the edge. So that way I can control how dark I make it. And also I move the pencil in back, it's like a circular motion. So I can get, I'm literally just smudging that. And then around this, I will mark, I will make it very light. So this would be 2 tones lighter at least. And within that itself also, in some places, there would be dark edges. So this part, you must have a nice sharp pencil. That way, you don't land up putting a pencil mark in the wrong place. And also within the iris section, sometimes there is a highlight. Well, it's lighter, not a highlight. There's some kind of lighting that keeps that part less colored than the other places. So this is one part. And I also can darken sections over here where it is, the fur it does look black, but there's very few strands of that. And the other part is adding more texture to the dips in the ear. And perhaps even over here, because it is fairly dark on this side. So all these things can be drawn with pencil. Since pencil is so much easier to control than paint, we can use that to our advantage and make these strokes very accurately. There's a fold in the ear also, so I'm shading that bit. And here as well, there's a fold. So we are not really making many shadows. We are just marking the dark fur. And the shadows can be made in watercolor. Okay, I'm just going to take a picture of this. So I'll disconnect the phone for the camera for a bit. Okay, now for the watercolor. We can make this in like a layered tones. So start off with the light-ish color. That can be a combination of gamboge and yellow ochre. So very often we think of making the exact color of the dog, but that can be a very dull shade. So I tend to add a little bit of gamboge to yellow ochre to keep it a little brighter. There's a little vibrance in there. And I'm going to paint in such a way that I leave a few places where there's a highlight, like over here on the temples. And also at the same time that I am painting these, I will add in a few other colors, like a little bit of burnt sienna, but just a little, so that I can change the shade subtly as we go along. Now we need to press the brush down when we are painting this. You must have enough liquid in your brush that even if you move from one area to the other, the paint does not dry. Now here it's all white or grayish, so I won't paint that right now. And this part, I'm going to press the brush down so I just get a stain. And before the earlier paint dries, I'm going to wipe my brush and go over the edges so that I can smoothen the edge out. The highlight doesn't look like a sharp shape. And even if it does, it's not a big bother. As we continue here, I'm wetting my brush a little bit, rehydrating this part. And in this, I'm going to put in a little bit of gray. So gray around the nose. And press this part down. So I get the gray only along the edges. I can insert a little wet on wet along the mouth. So I get a very nice transition from one color to the next. I'm going to proceed to paint the body also, just like we did the face. Slightly brighter color. Oh, I have painted on his mouth. And insert a little bit of burnt sienna. So remember to keep changing the angle of the brush depending upon the area that you're at. So at some places you hold the tip, and some places you flatten it. So wherever you flatten it, there will be a little less paint and deposited. And wherever you hold the tip down, you will get slightly more concentrated color like this. So when you finish painting this and before you take in the new color, there is some residual color in the brush. You can use that to make a few strokes to enhance the shade in a few places. And this can be created better by making textural strokes instead of just depositing paint. Now for the ears, I'm doing a combination of gamboge, yellow ochre, and burnt sienna. And I'm going to start painting. Already it's going to be a little darker than the earlier color. So there are a few places where it looks slightly pinkish. I'm just going to ignore that pink color for now and keep adding a brown burnt sienna shade. Keep making the center portion a little darker. We can also add burnt umber, or a combination of burnt umber and ultramarine blue. But in all these places, the color is merged. So don't make very large strokes. And avoid making strokes over and over in the same place. Same thing on the other side. And here it's slightly more pinkish. So you can take a little bit of just a little bit of scarlet along with this same color, burnt umber, burnt sienna, and then paint it as a merge. And at every point, remember to keep some section unpainted as a highlight. Like over here, there are some very fine hairs that are sticking out. So I'm just going to leave that section unpainted. And keep adding this depth. Now for the mouth, we make a color with this combination. You can use scarlet, burnt sienna, a little bit of crimson, a little bit of burnt umber. And you will create a brighter version of that tongue. And when painting, just paint over all the lines, but at the edge of the mouth, don't sweep it flat. Try to paint it in a vertical line. Then paint the dark part of the tongue first, like this. Wash the brush and take the damp brush around to the lighter side. So this is something you can do every place where you seem to have one color, but there's a shadowy space also there. The color on the bottom palette is slightly pinkish, so I've changed my color by dipping my brush in a little bit of crimson. And again, along the sides, use the same color as the tongue. And again, as we do, paint with a few places that you will leave the highlight. Some places, of course, the teeth are visible, but some places, there's a highlight also visible that I think also gives us a sign of some depth. And then to this, we can add a little more crimson and burnt umber to make the color of the outside of the jaw. And in this part, you will notice that there is a highlight in a few places. Though we have made it pretty dark in pencil, this color will give it that depth also. Now the nose is slightly bluish. No, it's this. It's burnt umber, ultramarine blue. Maybe a little bit of this red, but you can avoid that also. So keep it a little watery. And then make a larger highlight first. Then there's a little highlight on either side of this nostril. There's some over here as well. So I'm just taking this color and painting it flat on the nose around these marked highlights. And dropping extra color along the edges. Then taking a damp brush and going over the edges over here. And maybe add a little bit of burnt umber. Oh no, ultramarine blue. Just to some of the corners over here to enhance the shadow. Now you'll notice that in a lot of places our color is very light. Like for example, there's the snout over here underneath. There's a little bit of dark patches over here. So using a damp brush, which has very little paint, maybe the same color as the snout, we can create these darker patches. And we need to make them so that the dog doesn't look too bare. But as far as possible, I try to avoid using black. I'll try to make all sorts of colors before I resort to black. And even then, black is used only as a darkener. The same color as the nose and the jaw is used on the eye. And we first make it in a lightish tone, leaving highlights in the right places. And then part of that, we can add the dark part, like our black from the gray that we make normally the generic gray, using that. So at this point now we are just doing color matching and adding features. And the color of the eye itself is a combination of yellow ochre and I think burnt sienna. So that part we can just go over the eye and fill in a very watery shade. Because of all the pencil work, it's fairly dark. So you just need to tint the paper, not go in very dark. And this will also seal in the pencil lines, so they won't move. The center part of the eye, we can use black because the pencil will not be as deep. And again over here, paint the center of the center dark, then wash or wipe your brush and spread that out so you get a fuzzy line. Okay, just give me a couple of minutes now before we start the next part. I want to share the new images for reptiles. What had we decided yesterday we would do? I'm totally lost. I had 2 classes after that.
I think Shivani suggested something. She was supposed to share some images and she said,
Yeah.
Yeah, chameleon I was thinking of, but
Chameleon.
unfortunately I can't join this class. But if you
Oh,
do something like a chameleon or that kind of, those exotic
yeah.
lizards, then it'll be nice.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah. Because here it's lunchtime, no, for me on the weekends, this classes.
Ah,
So it gets a bit difficult if there's like some other commitment.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why.
Okay, let me look. So there are some very nice lizards this we've done in the past. Um,
So is the dog done already?
no, so this is, I think, 1/3 done now. And we can keep adding more depth, more color, so that it starts becoming more, the contrast starts increasing.
Okay.
And I don't know whether I'll be able to do that because I'm always falling short of time. But if I can, I'll put that image as well. But right now, this is also pretty finished. There's a lot we have already done, and this is good enough as well as a practice illustration. So my intention was that we do some of these so that in such a way that we can create a more casual practice, casual Losing words. Today is Sunday. I just can't think of what I'm. So how you can practice making animals to say two levels. One is just with pencil shading, and one is with pencil shading, adding a few colors. Because you need to also become familiar with what colors work well for your reference image. That understanding of layering colors or combining colors should not be the exercise you do only when you want to make a finished illustration. So this is more like a watercolor sketch, like you would do a pencil sketch. This is also a watercolor sketch, just blending a few colors together and seeing how it works. And in this case, even if the colors were to merge, if you make them very free flowing, that is also part of the exercise. So let me see if there's other.
They look quite nice actually with pencil and a little bit of watercolor.
Yeah.
These are lovely feel.
I know. I love it.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I'm going to try painting this bull here. Well, I want to show you what the watercolor sketch means. So this fellow also has similar colors, but instead of making it as refined, we still made our dog fairly refined. In the case of the bull, the picture is pretty small, but let me show you with the colors also. The application is also very casual. So I'll take a bunch of colors and I will apply them with a very, like my hand should be flying on the paper. So we don't do fine strokes like we would do in pencil. Usually in paint, you should have just brief strokes coming out. This is the practice that you should be doing. And we don't really need to worry about textures or shapes too much because they're already there as an underlayer thanks to the pencil. And also once in a while, you can just throw in odd colors to see what happens to the picture. So I'm putting in an ultramarine blue here. You could put in maybe a crimson or a scarlet. So as you can see, although the strokes look brief, the painting is not done very fast. Just because we are making a few strokes, we shouldn't be moving the brush unnecessarily fast. They are very thoughtful, but they are brief. So something like that. Now the color over here is still wet, so I can't add anything there, but I would put in some kind of texture there as well.
Beautiful.
My dog's highlight looks like a square. It's really cool.
What one? Sorry, I didn't see.
My dog's highlight looks like a square, which is very cool.
Nice.
I like it.
It's looking nice, the nose.
Anna, it's
Yeah.
come out so well. I just love animal drawing. It just really makes me so alive. I love art with animals.
So you said you have a problem with birds.
Her bird
But
also came out very good, yeah?
I didn't do the bird class. I missed that one.
Then florals, I think you were little
Florals
diffident
are
about.
having a lot of problems.
But
Oh.
florals also came out very good.
Thank you. Florals did come out eventually. I think I was just going for a block, man. Terrible it was last year.
I
But
think
this
all
is-
the other stuff that we've done probably has helped your florals also work.
Yeah, and it was the paper, really. I had the wrong paper.
Okay.
So it was really because as somehow I was watching Susan's one, all these people, not blaming Susan, but I'm blaming all these other people who
Huh.
put these time lapse ones. They make it look so fast. So when I tried to follow Susan's one, I was like, wow, look at her. She's doing so well. And I'm just absolutely horrible at it, not realizing that it was the paper. So then I talked to her, I talked to Ritu, I said, something's wrong, man. I don't know how to do art. And then they're like, don't worry, it'll be fine. And Susan said that time. She said, check your paper. So I said, oh. So that changed it. That really changed it.
But Aditi, haven't you seen the progress in all our work in the last couple of years?
Of course I have. My God.
When I see my initial paintings of the lockdown, I'm like, shit, what
Me also.
crap I've made.
They
I
are.
find them here and there. I'm like, oh my God, I did a coffee. Because the first one I did was coffee painting. And it came up, I think it came up on my FB. So I was like, my God, that's what I made. There's no depth, there's no shading, nothing. Icon it was with coffee.
Aditi, later on, do a lot on perspective also, na, please.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
We didn't do perspective last.
Because that's another thing I'd love to do plain air, but the thing is that perspective just frightens the life out of me.
I like this. I like that.
I'll do it. Perspective, yeah, it's we can do it next month because I've shifted travel now to that month. Thanks to we were doing I was gonna do that for the Srinagar workshop. But now I don't know if Srinagar is happening. So there have been lots of people interested, but nobody is confirming or no. So
For me, it's the timing because I'm coming in June anyways. I don't know if you want to do something in June because I have to go compulsory to Goa in June 7th to the 10th. I have like a reunion. So
I
if
know
you
I have to
you're traveling, no?
to June. So
You're going to the US.
end of
Yeah.
May to first week of July, I'm traveling. So again in June and July, we'll probably do these makeup classes or double classes so that we don't, even in June, then if we don't have classes, then we can come back in July and do it. So just 6 weeks, not too much, but 6 weeks of no art can be a long time. So I'm going to give everybody some project.
Yeah, and maybe you try from there, like you were sharing, I will sketch at a place and then maybe we can try to, sketch with you.
Yeah, follow you.
Would be
I
nice.
think that I can do, maybe through Instagram Live or something like that. That I can definitely do.
Yeah.
You have to see the timing though, because I'm going to so many places. It'd be a shame if I don't what's the word? Capitalize. Okay. Okay. So I have shared the images for today.
I'll drop off, sorry. But we'll see
Okay.
you.
Bye,
See you,
Shivani.
the week after. Bye,
Have a
Ritu.
good lunch.
Thank you. Bye, Ritika.
Bye.
All right. So we are here. So one of these pictures is a painting. and all the others, I think, are photographs. So we are going to do the same thing that we did for the birds and animals. First, we are going to make a sketch. We're going to make a loose sketch, and then we are going to try and paint one of these. I think today we can paint a frog, but we'll make a sketch of the frog and the iguanas. So let's start with the first iguana. I'll share the image first so I can speak about it. Now with reptiles, one of the best thing and the worst thing is that they have very textured skins. So trying to create this seems like a very daunting task. But also because it's got a texture, we can get away with a lot of scribbling. And then use paint like we did for the dog. Just paint over it in washes and focus on a few places for highlights and shadows, and the illustration can look very interesting. So I'll show you how this sketch can be done with a scribbling texture. And maybe one of these we could also do in pen, or if you have ink handy, you can do it in ink as well. We'll again size it pretty small, don't make it too large. And in this case, again, there aren't too many shapes per se. It's almost like one set of parallel lines with joins at the tip for the nose. So of course you can break it up and draw it like so. So you have a horizontal line like this, and then a line here, then the nose, and then almost like a parallel line coming down, and then you have the shoulder of the animal. So once you have some basic shape, then you can go into the details. And for this as well, try to draw it without taking your hand off too much. Now, when you're making these scales, you'll notice that making those back and forth lines all automatically start creating a texture. So just a scribble is usually enough. So let your hand move just very freely, and it will take care of creating the texture. In many places, you might not even need to make the texture. But in places like around the mouth, it's this, the placement of the scales around the mouth is so beautiful. It's like bricks. So I have found that unless you make a few strands of texture, finding positions of the main features like these big scales, the larger scales here, becomes very difficult, and you'll end up drawing them in the wrong place or the wrong size, and all the proportions change. So I usually fill up the space between these features, and then it's almost as if I put one step forward and another forward, and then walk over it to know, okay, this distance is enough, and now I can make the next feature. So that could be either scales or folds or sometimes fur or hair. And this practice helps later on when we will move to portraiture, because over there again, across maybe from the skin, like from the eye to the end of the face, you don't know how to gauge that part of the skin. There's hardly any features there. But this helps in at least understanding how space works. And by the time we come to our human faces, you will understand how you see things and how you interpret space. Now, those of you who are drawing these holding your pencil too close might make your lines over here very cumbersome. So hold your pencils behind and just drag the pencil on paper. And at this point, you can just use the support of your little finger and pull the pencil down instead of keeping your hand heavily on the paper and then trying to draw that line. For the shorter lines, you can keep your hand down and move just your fingers. For the longer lines, hold your hand up a little bit and taking the support of your little finger, drag the line down. When you come to the scales, start off with the larger scales in the middle instead of starting with the smaller ones, and then go to the smaller ones, because the smaller ones are fairly insignificant. It's the large ones that draw all the attention. So you might as well put them in place first and then just taper them off on either side. When we are drawing these series of scales along its neck, they've got a very weird shape. You know that they're spiky, but trying to draw that spike is very painful. So if you zoom in, you notice that the shapes are just like maybe half a circle like that, circle from the top, and then you have part of the spike coming outward. And you know that it's a spike only because of this shading. So I'll just make this spike shape in a magnified state. So you have half or 3/4 of a circle, from where you will then have like a spike shape coming out. And then you have shading along the bottom. So this looks like a spike here. Now, how do you show that in such a small scale? So we can just make a series of these shapes. You only make this and something like that. And you can use a small pencil for this. You don't have to use a big one. But make sure that the spike is not too long. Otherwise, it'll look if you make something like that, that will look like one of the scales. Some are also oval, some are bigger as we come down. And also the angle of that oval changes. As you come lower on the neck, they become more flat. And the folds of the skin are quite interesting. They're all overlapping lines. So it almost looks like fabric. Now, through all of this, we can make a slightly scratchety kind of line in a contour so that we can indicate the dimension or the roundness of the body. And your scratchy lines also should be well positioned. And then finally, you can focus on the eye and draw that really well. So there's a upper eyelid that is flat, and then that goes into the corners of the eye, but there's an overlap here. So don't miss out on that. Very interesting shape of the eye. And then, of course, we have a circular lens as others, but an oval, oval lens and circular iris. Highlight, very prominent. It's got some kind of light texture in the eye. And definitely a shadow below the upper lid. My upper lid has become too flat. So he's looking too chill, this guy. Or actually almost like a crocodile. I don't even know. And of course the nostril. Okay, shall we try drawing the frog? Do you want to try drawing the frog yourselves? Choose any one of the 3 frogs. And I can show you the painting in a bit. So I'll start you off earlier. I'll give you 5 minutes head start, because I want to see what solutions you guys come up with. And then I can help you out with issues.
Which frog are you suggesting, Aditi?
Whichever one you like.
Okay, I quite like the gamboge and blue and black. And
Yeah.
so we'll paint that, is it?
Yeah, this one we're going to paint. But
Okay.
again, it's going to be like the dog. It's going to be more, or like the bull. It's like paint sketching more than a finish paint.
Hmm, hmm.
So choose the colors that you want, or the drawing, or I mean the position, whichever you like. So 5 minutes, I'm going to finish my breakfast. So I'm not going to touch my paper. And then till then, let's see, you'll be able to find some solutions.
No, so you don't want us to paint, right?
No, no.
Okay, we just draw.
You start the drawing.
Okay,
Then I will start the drawing in 5 minutes.
okay,
Then we will paint together.
okay,
But,
perfect.
but if you want to, you can paint also. Huh? I don't want to stop you from painting. If you think,
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Okay, which frog have you all drawn? Or has everyone drawn different frogs?
I've drawn the Cambodian, the white,
Blue.
black. Yeah.
I'm drawing the first one, which is
Okay,
there
the,
on a
the
grass.
red-eyed one, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So how many? Okay, both are being drawn, so I'll draw both and I'll show you painting for both.
Imagine we are struggling to draw and she says, I'll draw both.
That, yeah, it came out really wrong.
No, it didn't come out wrong. It's perfect.
Was it in this class yesterday or I think in the travel class? I was speaking about strength of line. I think it was in the travel class. So I have looked back and I've been asked several times how I became good at drawing. And actually, I don't remember it consciously happening. But then I thought about it and I realized that a large part of it happened when I was doing a lot of doodle art. So from 2005, 6 or so, that was after my younger one was born, I used to do doodle art only to keep myself sane through that whole motherhood. And I remember that was the only thing I could do because there's often one baby in arms, one baby sitting by my feet or something like that. So I didn't realize this, and I've mentioned this several times in the past that I think there's a story in our Puran about this, and goes to show how small steps taken every day can have huge results later on. So it is not about an everyday situation, but there's a story about one guy who is running away from some demons and he goes and climbs a tree. And while he's sitting over there, he doesn't know when the demons are going to go because they're just like dancing around or something like that. So he, to while away time, he starts plucking leaves from the tree around him, and they're like a gulmohar or something. And then he keeps throwing one leaf down from the tree at a time, just for time pass, apparently. How that would not attract the Rakshas, I don't know, but that was what the story said. Anyway, so he was doing that, and it's turned out that at the base of that tree was a shrine to one of our great gods who would just appear whenever they want to. So after several hours, and it could have been months or years also, because our Puran stories go through thousands of years. That same person, nothing they do. They just sit in a tree for 1,000 years. So it could have been something like that also. So the god, who could have been Vishnu or Shankar or someone, was very pleased, and he comes out and he says, "You are an amazing bhakt, and you have diligently put one leaf down onto my shrine for all this time, and ask whatever you want." And I have no idea what he asked or what he got, but I was the part of the story that stuck to me was the fact that he didn't know there was a shrine. He was doing something to occupy himself, and he was just taking whatever he had around him, which in this case was leaves. And all he was doing was stripping the leaves and throwing one leaf down at a time. So there was a certain amount of diligence to keep oneself sane, wait for the right opportunity to leave the tree. And in that process, he just happened to do something good, which he wasn't even aiming for. And good came his way. So that was the moral that I took away from this. And I realized that it doesn't matter if you are doing great pieces of art every day, or you have 5 hours to paint and practice every day. A 10-minute shot of practice, even every day, put in through the day, through the years, starts building your hand muscles. And now I can safely say I have no memory of not having control of my line, where the line goes, how sharp it should be, how light it should be. They often say this about sports people, that their equipment becomes part of their body. I think that is what happens even with us. So your pencil, brush, everything becomes part of your body, and you can instinctively tell when you have too much medium in your brush, or too much color, or how dark or how light it's going to be. It's insane how that works.
It's a very nice story, Aditi.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I must find out what the whole story is. I was told this as a child by my grandfather, and then I forgot it. I think he was very diligent himself, and he really believed in this. The other story that he used to tell us was also about this monkey that went from pillar to post because he wanted to make this beautiful cap. I'm sure you must have heard this. And then he makes this lovely cap, which is so beautiful, and the talk of the town, that the king comes and takes it away from him. And then the monkey goes around town saying that Raja Bhikari, Machi Topi Ghetli. And then that Raja is so embarrassed. He calls him and he says, "I could put you to death." Then he says, "Yeah, because you're such a greedy dude. You're not only this, you are going to put me to death for your crime." And this is in open court. So very interesting that a monkey takes on an oppressive king. And so the king, in that case, lets him go. Again, moral of the story for me was not that the king lets him go or he's jealous. The fact that the monkey wanted a good cap, and that too because he found a piece of silk. So he goes to a tailor and gets a tailor to make a cap. Then he says, "Won't it be nice if I add some lace to it?" So he goes to the lace maker and says, "Can you put a little bit of lace?" Then he goes to some other fellow to put ticklies. You can make the story as big as you want. And my
Yeah.
favorite was the last one. He goes to a Gonde wala. Gonda is a bauble. I just love the idea of a hat with a bauble. So the last person he goes to is the Gonde wala, and then he keeps moving his head like a fez, and then that Gonda keeps going round and round, and that's what attracts the attention of the king. So cute. So his industriousness was wonderful. If you want to do something, you find the solution and work on it, you'll find you'll be able to do it.
Aditi, no wonder the children also must be enjoying your class because of all those stories.
Yeah, I love the children's class also. The children add a few more stories of their own also.
Yeah, so that gives you also food, no?
That is so much fun. The younger ones especially have practically no filter. So they
And
just
the other thing is they're totally in awe of you. You should see the way they pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's good fun. I absolutely love the kids class.
So are you writing these stories somewhere, Aditi? You like to document it, right?
Exactly. So I have been not writing. I have been mulling over this for a while now. I want to write a book about our art also, all the art techniques and everything that we've done. So the stories will come in that at the pertinent time. So that's one reason why I uh, keep the recordings of our class. And I feel that someday I'll go and listen to all of it again, which is not going to happen. I know it. So I have to just find the time to start writing. But after this US trip, definitely I'm going to take this on as a project so that I can come up with a book. In fact, I was speaking with Susan also to help me out with putting this together. So since we met in Bombay last weekend, I was telling her she's been through the whole process also, so she knows all of
Yeah,
it can
that's a
help.
nice idea, and I think it's good to
Yeah,
have some help.
yeah.
So, in the book fair, I picked one book. I think it's written in New York by a artist. So
Wow.
it's named Sketch Your Day. And she has put in, stories about like, when his child was small, like the way you were telling,
Ah,
she has nothing, so she will document her day. And then she's put one picture of her journal, how she documented. She's trying to motivate us that, we should sketch every day.
yeah.
And it was so nice. That's what I was also wondering, that maybe, you should also write a book like this for us, for our generations also, that this is how the process was and this is how, because yeah, you also motivate us, like it's not that you have to just sit over and, you have to find something. You can sketch anything, whatever is around you, even your home clock or something like that.
Right.
So I'm sure that would be a very nice book to have.
I'm sure. I have this I always feel that I'm not not now anymore, but I always used to feel there's already somebody who's written a book like that. Why should I write? And then I went to the US and I said, my God, this is the worst attitude. Just because somebody else has written a book doesn't mean that you can't write. Look at these guys.
Yeah.
Every, like you said, every generation needs there are different contexts, there are different stories that make more sense. So everyone and their grandmother over there is writing books, yeah. It just seems like that's the thing to do. That becomes your calling card, being a published author.
So that's what we were talking, like, when we went to the book fair, it was like everyone is like, you feel like everyone is writing a book.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's what we were talking. So Sharda said it looks like that, you know, there are there are less readers and more writers these days. But then मैं भी यही सोच रही हूँ कि मैंने क्यों book लिखी. So I said, but at least you pen down, you know, what you wanted to share. So maybe someone would read someday and say, oh, these were her thoughts. And, you know, I mean, that's what we feel. I mean, maybe my father and grandfather might have written something for me. I would have known how they have, you know, gone through the generations, what were their struggles and all. But now I don't know. I mean, if I've heard, I'm fine. But
It's
otherwise, I don't know.
exactly. That is also a very important point, na, Ritika. We only think about writing a book as a book for commercial success or
Yeah.
for commercial reasons. But writing personal stories can also be so good.
Yeah.
It can be only for yourself, it can be only for your immediate family. There's just the fact, I have a feeling we are not a country or a culture that documents anything.
Anything. Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
at the end of the day, we look back and say, all this anyway is Maya. So इसमें क्या लिखना है? We have no concept of legacy at all.
Yeah.
In one way, I find that it's so pure and it's wonderful. This is how it should be.
Yeah.
But let's not forget that there are going to be future generations, and
Yeah.
it would be good to transmit our experiences or our joys or just some
Yeah.
kind of contact between us and them. So that part must be embraced also, just for that much. So keeping a journal and all is great, but we must also, I guess, educate the next generation to hold on to these journals.
Exactly.
Not just junk them कि अरे यार ये दादाजी की पुरानी डायरी है, अब कबाड़ी वाले को दे दो. That should not happen. So
Yeah. So
that's our job, I suppose.
yeah, so you know, same way I when you know we had our cookbook, the cookbook too. So I gave it to one of my family members, and you know, they are old uncle, auntie, like 75s. And then he got so excited when you know they both were seeing the book because those recipes and they were hand illustrated. Then they told me, you know, I wish, you know, I could explain the stories and then someone write our stories for our family so that my grandkids know.
Ah,
That's what I was wondering, you know. I mean, they think of, but they never write it because they feel like कि चलो हम ऐसे ही बता देते हैं. But then if you document it, that's what I was telling them. Okay, you tell me, I will write the stories. At least document your story.
yeah,
You will have a family book or something, you know, at least.
correct.
So why don't you use the art to, you know, for this medium to pass on to the generation such beautiful stories you have?
Absolutely. You can ask them to start recording the stories. I've been trying to do this for a while. I've been telling all these senior citizens, don't bother writing. Now, the whole point of getting all these great softwares is that we can do things easily for you. Click a button and just relate, and then
Yeah,
we'll
that's
find
it.
a way to do it. But I'm serious, just find this and we'll find a way to make a book for them. And
Yeah.
even if we can collect one story from all of our families
Yeah.
and some true life incident
Yeah.
that happened or stories of their grandparents or something that they know. I knew of a family whose great grandfather was some police officer in the Pakistani Punjab and was shot by dacoits and things like that. I say, who knows stories like that? My family members, the most they've had is scrape their knee while hanging a picture. So these stories should be known, what kind of lives people have led.
Maybe we do a storybook like we do a cookbook, you know, and
I
maybe
think that's a great idea.
everyone can have one story and maybe an illustration to relate with that.
Yeah, let's do that.
When my daughter was born, the first one, no, I presented each of the 4 grandparents with a book.
Ah,
Each one with a book which had prompts. Okay, this is a story of my life for my grandchildren. So it's not for
wow.
children. The book is a lovely book, foreign publication. I bought 4 copies because I knew I wanted. Each one has a different life, right? Because completely different life, even though they've come together at some point. So the whole book is about them just having to answer questions. There are questions there. What was your best memory with your mother? What was your best memory of your father? Then what is the worst time of your life ever? Like, you know, what is the worst experience you ever had? What brings back that memory to you? And stuff like that. I presented, I still have a photo. Yesterday we saw it. saw a photo of us giving that book to every one of those 4 grandparents when my daughter was born, you know, after her, at her christening. Not one person has written one word. Okay. You will not, it's surprising. I thought they would all be excited. I thought they were, given that they are so so much, they are so excited to show things to children and they you know, pass on their legacy. But when I asked them to write it, it was just like there was no enthusiasm, zero enthusiasm.
My God.
I was like, how is it that you all are so excited to show her, oh, make this thing and make that thing, and you want to make memories with your grandchildren? Why is it that you don't know to write? It's not even like I'm giving you a notebook and saying, okay, write your thoughts. That is very hard. Why don't you answer these questions? These are questions. Just answer them. Write 2 lines. That's enough. Don't write anything more. But no, to this day, not one of them has returned it. And if I ask about it, conversation goes off like that.
Maybe you know what, you should do a workshop for them about this. You should say, okay, all of you bring your books. We're all going to sit over lunch or tea or something, and let's just solve this together, like how we used to do exams, na, together, solving papers. I think we should just, that's the only way. We had a similar problem. I think there's a certain lethargy about these things. We had like for our building, we had to read some whatever your building rules and regulations or something like that. Uske liye bhi I said we'll do a workshop because people are not reading through. It's been 5 months. It's just something that we are not doing.
Aditi, when you start aging, you start taking too much time to do all these things. So then
I think so.
yeah, I've slowed down so much that, oh God, if I have to even go to the market, it's like 2 days I'll be thinking, ki, acha, now, okay, I'll do this, and then go. When I was in Bombay,
Yeah.
it used to happen just like that, you know. So
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's possible. It's possible.
So, you know, I gave my mother a task that, you know, you please, because she knew bunti thi wo, but now she doesn't do it. So I said, you have to make me one scarf, please. At least I should have a memory. So at least she tried. I mean, it took her 5 months, but at least now this time, you know, she did the scarf and she said, okay, this task I have done. Now I will think later if I can do anything or not. Something that you cherish.
Sweet.
so Aditi, even I've drawn both of them.
Oh, wonderful. Very good. Chalo. Now we'll start painting. We will be doing alternate painting. So we'll first start with the red-eyed frog, and then we'll move to the poison dart frog. Actually, both I think are poison darts. But we'll call one of them red-eye and one of them poison dart.
No, I think these are tree frogs. The green one is a, I think.
I
I've
think
already done it. Yeah.
all
I've
are
done-
tree frogs.
No, the green one. The green with
Green
the
one
orange.
is a tree frog, yes. And this one is a poison dart.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Yeah, red-headed poison dart. We've done this once before.
Yeah, I think so. We've done some. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Susan, put up a picture of that here on the group of what you've done.
Yeah.
Okay, so to start off with the tree frog, let's first put in the shadows in the underbelly. So we have our gray, and we'll put this in 2 layers. So first just, now remember this is not going to be like a finished illustration. So I want your strokes to be just light and fun. That means don't repeat the strokes over and over. Now coming down to the poison dart, use the same gray for some sections where you see shadows, like you have the back of the eye, like this over here, one side of the nostril, and go over these sections. Here the underbelly, back of this leg, back of the leg here. And if you want, we could also put in a nice light shadow under the whole frog itself at this time, because then we don't have to worry about the colors of the frog bleeding into the shadow. And we can go over certain spaces, the drawing of the frog also, and still have this nice gray shadow underneath. Now, moving on to the tree frog, because it has got such a nice vibrant color, we can do it in two ways. Identify the areas where you have the green and the yellow. And in those sections, we can put just a lemon yellow shade in the beginning. And again over here, to keep some places unpainted. These stripes are lemon yellow. And then the back portion of the leg, the thigh, not the front, and the shin. Now at this point, if we feel brave enough, you can take a little bit of cerulean and add just a light cerulean on the shoulder, on the elbow, sorry. And create this merge. So this part I feel is the instinctive part, where how you put in, how you know where the color is wet and how much paint you should take in the brush and how you should apply it. That part must come very instinctively. And I'll tell you one secret. The best way for that to happen instinctively is to actually invite goof ups. Like in this case now, my color has run into the knee, but it'll create such a fabulous effect for the picture, as long as I don't compare it to the original picture, and it won't look like it's a mistake. The effect will be very beautiful. Now, while the tree frog is drying, we are going to make just a color merge across the entire body of the poison dart frog. So here our color merge will be gamboge going into even a cerulean blue or a mix of cerulean blue and viridian green would be perfect. There aren't too many highlights except for the place above the eyes. And then the color itself becomes very light. There's a little highlight here. I'll keep some. And then you wipe the brush, take a little bit of water and start pulling the color down to make it lighter. And then start inserting a light layer of cerulean blue and viridian green. And now for the highlights, instead of keeping this big white blotch, take a clean but damp brush and just go over this with that damp brush, pressing the brush down. So you don't leave a white spot there, but you don't also drop in too much water there. So you effectively lift some color off. Now for the tree frog, we have two places to color. One will be a light green mixture made from lemon yellow and sap green. You can also make an even lighter green, mixing lemon yellow and cerulean blue. That becomes very fluorescent. And we are going to paint this in part of the body above. But in this painting, I would ask you to, again, paint something else, paint something less, and leave a few highlights, which then we can damp brush over and smoothen out. On the body, you'll notice that the green is not too prominent. That yellow tinge is fairly visible. So keep it visible. Don't paint over that entire section like we've done for the top of the body here. Okay, I'm just coming back, getting some water. Okay. Now for the poison dart frog, the next process is very simple. We just need to make a set of black patches. So we just draw the black patches. Oh, I'm so confused what I'm drawing. I don't even know. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I've been very confused in this design. Okay, something's working. All right, now we can paint this using a plain black also, because we already have this underlayer. And or you can add burnt umber to the black so that it doesn't interfere with the yellow underlayer. The same black that we normally do with all three colors. But this time the black has to be more prominent, not the other shades. So even in this, there are some patches which are blacker and there are patches which are not as black. But because this is not a finished sketch, this is still a sketching, a painting sketch or whatever, watercolor sketch. It's okay to not dwell on so many details also. Because the whole idea behind this painting is to be able to paint it quickly. And if we get into the subtle differences in the different blacks, then we might get waylaid by those.
Aditi, sorry, I missed it. What colors did you use?
The usual black, burnt umber, and
Ultramarine.
yeah. So if you notice, this section over here has got a highlight, this entire patch. So even the black will have a highlight. So I would probably do something like that. I would demarcate an area where my black also will be lighter. This is what I mean by not dwelling on that too much. But at some point, of course, you will see it and you will definitely make it. It is still a black, but with a highlight. So in this place, I would make a dotted texture to indicate the highlights. For something that is named a poison dart frog and looks so complicated to draw, this is one of the easiest ones to paint, thanks to that wash in the backdrop. 1 second, I'm getting the dough. My other class is done, but you can start sketching. Okay, I'll just finish this batch and I'll show you guys how to make the eyes. Oh, there's a nice blank patch here which I forgot to put. If you've seen it, please make that. That's so nice, the negative patch. Okay. What will you do, Nia?
This is the last page, so I think I'll save it for the class.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Okay, now for the eye, we will do it in 2 layers. So you can make a highlight on the top and paint the whole eye in the same color that we've used for the skin. But I would also recommend keeping one subtle highlight in the bottom. So this one we can, and for this, if you want, please change the brush. I'm using a number 6. You can even use a number 1, 0, whichever you feel you will give you better control. And then using a second deeper black, go over the outer edges and the middle, this part. Leaving some gap there. And then go over, too much water. Then go over the bottom part, lifting color again. So you have a subtle shade difference. Now we can use our gray again and add more lines for depth. So when you color the rest of the frog, that should do it. And now you'd see how the shadow really makes the frog look like it's sitting right here. It's beautiful. Now going back to the tree frog, we will fill in the colors over here, the same color, cerulean blue and viridian. And in this case now, you will notice that the color is slightly more concentrated towards the middle of the body and then becomes just ever so slightly less concentrated towards the bottom. So the way to paint this is to deposit the color where you find that it's darkest, wash, wipe the brush, and then pull the color down. It's a very simple technique, but it can give a lot of depth to your pictures. Wipe. Sometimes just wiping can also help if you have adequate humidity, hydration in the brush. And in the event that it either becomes too light or a slightly different color like this, you can always put a second layer, but don't fiddle with it while it's wet. Now here there are some white stripes, so I'm not going to forget those. And the darker shade also is towards the back, not the top. And then it just gently spreads out into the front of the body. Moving on to the eye, I'm going to move a little quicker now because we have just 10 minutes since we all spent such a long time just chatting. Which is a very important part of class, I must admit. We'll make a mix of orange and scarlet for the eye. Part of the highlight covers the center of the eye and part of it outside. So you can freely exaggerate the highlight. And you can start off with a more orangish red on the top of the eye, blending it down to, in fact, actually we can just go over the black part itself also. That will help cover it better. And as you come lower, you can start adding a slight brownish shade. So we can move to a light red. On the corner, scarlet in the middle. And as we come lower, you could even add a burnt umber towards the extreme bottom edge. So in one shot, you can create a nice three-dimensional eye. Same thing on this side. And for the feet, I'm just going to use some orange and then put some highlights of red afterwards. Remember to leave these certain parts white, unpainted. And at this stage, you can also use water and pull this in onto the foot and reinforce the color of the foot by adding a second layer of the green here. In the few places where you want the color to stand out. And for the last bit, we can add that black part in the center. And for this, if you feel that you would rather use pen, please go ahead, because you might be able to make a better controlled line with pen than with brush. So I'll leave that to you. So if you think about it, the drawing and painting of the frogs didn't really take us too much time. Definitely not as much as the dog. And painting these shapes might take some time, but that's okay. Now, incidentally, over here, again, because our black is not very opaque, we can do a second round of painting towards the bottom over here, where we have put shadows. So as the color dries, these parts will definitely look darker. And now in the 5 minutes that we have left, you can also try painting the iguana. You should have all these colors on the palette any case. So at least a first wash of colors from the palette that we already have will be a good practice. And then if you really want to, I really like doing this part. I would take only one small section of the picture, and then I will focus and make these very painful scales right next to each other, like one would make bricks. It is not, it's a very arduous task. And you know that if you were to take this on fully, it would make you a great human being, but take away like 10 years of your life, and you don't want to do that. So just the taste of that satisfaction is enough. Just do one small section by the face and leave everything like a wash. So you know that, okay, agar mere paas time ho, to I can gain this. Like the potential we have, I can be the CEO of any company. That kind of joy or fleeting joy is good enough. Okay, so now we have 2 weeks of vacation, 2 weekends. Next weekend is the 24th, right? 24th or 25th. No. Yeah, 24th. So that week we won't have class, and the weekend after that is the 2nd. So that day also we won't have class. Then the 9th and 10th, the weekend of the 9th and 10th, again, we will have a Saturday, Sunday. So all the missed Saturdays should be covered. Yeah. And in March, then I have a feeling we have 5 Saturdays anyway. So there, then whatever, any other which was extra that needed to be covered up also will be covered up. Okay. All right. So March topic is lettering, just so you know. And if there's anything, this time I'm going to teach you how to write the Gothic script. So at least that part will be good. One formal calligraphy script this time. And next week or the next class, that will be on the 2nd, not 2nd, 10th, 9th, we will do insects. So insects or small creatures like butterflies, dragonflies, that kind. If you have anything specific in insects that you'd like to explore, again, moths, beetles, all of those, start sharing images on the group just as suggestions, and that will get everyone else excited about their favorite creatures. And then we'll select some from those and make them. Since they are small, except for maybe butterflies and moths, they can be as tedious as dogs and cats because the texturing is very delicate. But other than that, because they're small, they have fewer things, the features are limited, we can make more of them than the others.
Or maybe we make those stickers like you make, beetles, I remember.
Yeah, they were very nice. We can make something like that. Okay. All right. Chalo. Thank you then, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Have 2 nice
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Aditi.
weeks.